What would you do if you went to a sacred place, but it turned out to be an ancient underground cave filled with a bunch of tiny rocks? Or how it feels like sailing through the high waterfalls of a gorge? Well, you wouldn't believe how far it went wrong. Good morning, Delofre. We just finished breakfast and I didn't film it because it's literally the exact same thing I had yesterday. Consistency is key, right? So we went back to the room for a quick bathroom break before heading to the car park. And here's today's briefing. Only 2 places today because we're driving to a new prefecture, Miyazaki. First stop is Takachiho Gorge for the iconic boat ride, and then we head to the underground Amano Iwato shrine. Sounds simple, right? But actually it wasn't. Alright, for those of you who are wondering where Miyazaki is, it's actually a prefecture located in Kyushu, which is at the bottom of Japan. And it's also approximately around 2 hours driving distance from Kumamoto Prefecture. So yeah, it's going to be a long ride there. Yep, you might be thinking this doesn't look like a gorge, right? Good guess, because my brother needed to do a quick... Yeah, so while waiting, I wandered around this 7-Eleven, just admiring the snacks, and yes, every single one of them was calling my name. But I resisted with all my strength. But luckily, my brother finished his quick mission and told me to get back to the car. Crisis avoided. But I'm definitely getting that chicken tonight. I couldn't film much of the driving because I'm driving and my brother was navigating the map. And what I mean by saying navigating is confidently giving me the wrong direction. So we literally missed the turn and there was no way back, so we ended up in this random parking space. The good news is it was free. The bad news is we had absolutely no idea where we are. So we just stood there like we literally have no idea what else to do. All we can think about right now is just... Okay, that was good. Yeah, as I said before, we're just walking back and forth, didn't know where we are right now. But then we found this sign, which saying a direction to Takachiho Gorge. So yes, the universe still had faith in us. So we just followed the sign, and at first everything felt normal. Then, as we walk further, it slowly turned into a forest. And when we walk out of the forest, it gets even weirder because it somehow became a road. No pedestrian path and cars passing by. We just casually blended in the place where we don't belong. Eventually, we reached this car park, and then crowds never looked so beautiful at this point. That's when we knew we were in the right place, okay? So we continued walking and found this sign for the Gorge pathway and started walking down the stairs. And I would say the views were really insane already. From here, I could finally see the water. So we just follow it towards that direction. Then things got confusing again. The scenery suddenly looked dry and brown, like a desert. The gorge water disappeared, and I started wondering if we accidentally unlocked a DLC map. Until we saw this rock. It looked really cool, and I turned around. Yes, there it is. And the view was absolutely worth it. But just a second, when we appreciated the view, we got another problem. See, we reached this intersection where we saw two paths, and this map saying that we were really close to the boat. So we just followed my instinct. Yeah, never trust that instinct. But anyway, we walked past gigantic rocks and tree growing on top of one of them. And at this point, everything felt slightly unreal. The walk was still long, but eventually we went down more stairs and found the water again. But at this time, it's not just the water we found. Look what else we found. Yes, the boats. The infamous Takachiho Gorge boats. As we walked forward, I was literally obsessed with these rock formations. Like, look at that. So we kept walking, and I realized that we were surrounded by these towering cliffs. And also we found a warning sign telling us to be careful of this falling rock. But we'll just be careless because we found this heart-shaped rock. I don't know how that happened either. The closer we got, the more real the gorge looked. From above, the boats looked incredible. We were both getting excited, especially my brother. I don't know. Before reaching the wharf, we passed through this small village-like area. It was calm, quiet, and blended perfectly with the nature. I also said hi to my new friends here. Yes, they were just casually sunbathing. Then I got distracted by another small village nearby, right there. So we walked towards it, and I also found this map that we no longer needed while my brother went to the toilet. I just explored a little bit of this small village area, which is looking cool. And just like that, my brother finished his thing, and we crossed the bridge, and I finally saw the wharf, and it's so cool from up here. We rushed over and discovered there was another small town right before we entered the boat reception. We just followed the signs and we reached the counter. Yeah, the boat ride cost about 5,100 yen for 30 minutes, and one boat could fit up to 3 people. So we just bought the ticket and we got this number 18, not number 4, important detail. And we passed this vending machine, which is looking really cool, and it accepts Apple Pay. So I wanted to try to buy, it didn't accept me. Anyway, we walked down the stairs to the wharf, and wow, the water here was just crystal clear, calm and beautiful. And our boat wasn't there yet, but there was a dock, so honestly, still a win. We were supposed to get the life jackets here, but the staff just looked at our ticket and told us to wait. So we just waited, but it took so long for the guy just to give us the life jackets, and it's already like almost 1:15 at this point. So we approached back to the guy, and just like that, we got our life jacket. So we started waiting, and while waiting for our boat, I realized that it's a self-taught. Like there's no guidance or any tutorials from the guys up here. Like they just learn everything by themselves. So we genuinely didn't know what to do. And our ride was scheduled for 1:15. And it's already 1:30 p.m. and still no boats with number 18 we saw. And eventually our boat arrived, and I couldn't show any footage here, but when we tried to get into the boat, I stepped into the wrong part of the boat, which made the boat shaking a lot. But I made it alive. So yeah, at first we had completely no idea what we're doing. Paddling felt wrong, steering felt wrong, everything felt wrong, but the view is unreal. Yeah, as I said it before, we tried a lot of things and still couldn't figure it out. Until a few tries, my brother figured out how to paddle forward. The boat started moving smoothly. The sky hit different, and I tried swinging the paddle like I knew what I was doing, and yeah, I did not. As we swing further away from the wharf, we're starting to move closer to the center of the gorge, which means we're gonna be encountering a lot of people at this point. So yeah, it did happen multiple times, actually. But we learned very quickly how to steer the boat left and right, because we need to get away from this crash. Then we made another mistake. We paddled to the right, too far away straight to the waterfall. So it looked amazing, but what's even more amazing is that we don't have extra clothes to change to. So we fought our lives back to avoid it. Mostly successful, but still got splashed. We admired the waterfall and even spotted the pathway we walked earlier, which is really cool. Seeing it from below here was surreal. The gorge looked even better from the water. Eventually, we reached the end. And we weren't supposed to do this actually, but we switched positions. Yes. So on the way back, I was just steering this boat very creatively. Back at the wharf, we returned the life jackets and headed back up. We'll definitely come back here. That was such a fun experience. Now, it's lunchtime. We walked towards this restaurant because, yeah, chicken nanban again. Apparently, Miyazaki is the birthplace of chicken nanban, so it only makes sense. We entered the restaurant and pick up our seat number 18. Yeah, sounds familiar. The restaurant had this kind of vintage, cozy wooden interior. Chicken nanban! We absolutely devoured the food. It was really good. After paying, we saw this map filled with a lot of things to do here, but we definitely had no time left. So we walk out of the restaurant, go downstairs, and we met a new friend. It's called Yamami. Well, I don't know which one is Yamami. I think this one is Yamami. We walk back towards the car park and still staring at the gorge for the last time. Yeah, it was really cool. We followed the same exact path and somehow we discovered this globe we completely missed earlier. How can we miss that? After that, we continued walking and eventually back to... Yeah, and just like that, we continue to Amano Iwatu Shrine. So we arrived, and yes, the car park wasn't really too far away from the Takachiho Gorge, but the mountain view from up here was completely insane. Like, that's not a background, that's a painting. So we started walking towards the Amano Iwato shrine. As we walked around there and arrived, it looked really huge, I would say. But at the same time, I realized that it didn't look anything like the photos on Google Maps. But we just ignored it and kept walking inside. The first thing we saw inside was this cool looking statue, but it looks kinda creepy, to be honest. Then we found this map, and just so you know, what happened next is literally the reason why you should always know how to read a map. So we just followed the pathway and started climbing up the stairs inside the shrine area. And honestly, the place looks really amazing. Very ancient and traditional, totally different from any other shrines we have seen before. At this point, I started feeling like something was a bit off when I look at this map, but my brother just didn't question it at all and just kept walking forward. So yeah, I just ignored it. We passed through some houses, and further we walked, the quieter it got. Then we saw this sign. It showed that we were going up the hill, which is when the reality slowly hits us, because we were supposed to be heading to an underground shrine. Why are we heading towards an up? Maksudnya manjat situ? Yeah, it didn't make sense eventually. So we just turned around and walked back towards the exact same pathway we came from again. On the way back, we crossed this bridge, and right next to it was this glass bridge. Well, it's not huge, but it was still already enough to activate my fear. Anyway, after the bridge, we ended up in this really cool looking small town area. I still don't know exactly what kind of place is this, but it just felt calm and peaceful. And this is where I made a new friend again. I called him Jimmy. Jimmy was extremely friendly and also very fluffy. By this point, the sun was starting to set, so we knew we had to move faster. We continued walking deeper into the shrine area. At one point, we stopped by this small open space where you could look down below, and it felt like we were getting closer. But at the same time, we were not sure either. So we kept walking forward and entered another building. Inside, there were more structures and rooms. Nothing was labeled clearly, so we were just quietly exploring at this point. I also noticed these trees that looked absolutely incredible. And then we just exited the building and continued walking forward. And this is when the confusion hit again. We ended up in this kind of open space grove, just like what we experienced from the gorge. And at this point, there is no clear direction or explanation at all. Even these signs we found were not helpful at all. So once again, we followed our instinct. Well, that instinct almost led us to an ice cream shop, actually. But we didn't have time right now. We kept walking until we finally found a sign pointing towards the entrance of Amano Iwato Shrine. The pathway led downward, which finally makes sense since the shrine is underground. We walked down, crossed another really nice bridge, and passed a tiny waterfall. I'm counting that as a waterfall, okay? We continued walking even further, and at first all we could see were just rocks and flowing water. Still no shrine or anything until... Yes, that is the shrine. It's built under this cool looking cave surrounded by rock walls. It looks really amazing, but also very quiet and slightly unsettling. Around the shrine, there were a lot of these tiny stones stacked on top each other. Like, I don't know how did it happen, because there's a lot of them. Way too many. I don't know if it's natural or if someone spent an insane amount of time stacking them together, but either way, it felt intense. As soon as I entered and walked past this shrine, something felt different. Like the sky started getting darker, like noticeably. Earlier, it was just completely fine, and now it felt like the lighting just changed instantly. It's like the sky is trying to tell us it's time to go home. So we didn't stay long. We decided it was time to leave. And as we walked back out of the shrine area and reached the road again, the sky suddenly looked brighter. So we just didn't question it and we just kept walking. We headed back the same way we came, and as the sun continued setting, everything actually looked really beautiful. The light, the mountains, the atmosphere, it all felt calm again. And yes, Jimmy was still there. Hi Jimmy. Yeah, he ran away eventually. Anyway, we said our goodbyes and continued walking towards the car park, still admiring this mountain view next to it. I really couldn't get enough of it. As we reached the car park, I noticed Jimmy's friend. Well, I don't know his name, but he exists. At this time, I'm driving. So it means my brother was navigating the map again. And that's where the problem started, because he navigated me towards a wrong turn, which made us ended up driving in a completely dark forest, literally. And our car headlights were the only light around this dark forest. No houses, no street lights, just trees and a narrow road. And then at some point we saw a sign that says caution, children crossing. Yeah, after driving through the forest for about an hour, we finally got back to the main road, and this time with the correct navigation. Yep, as promised earlier, we stopped by 7-Eleven for a bathroom break, and yes, I finally got the chicken I wanted this morning. And just like that, we arrived back, parked our car and walked towards the hotel. At this point, it started drizzling and the shopping mall was already closed. But we knew exactly what kind of place that never closed. So we entered, bought the last bottle of water, and went back to our room to drop it off. It was already late and most places in the food court were already closing. So we just went straight to this katsu restaurant. Yeah, I ordered an omurice, and just so you know, the katsu restaurant earlier was already closed. So, yeah. But anyway, the omurice still looks good, even though when I cut it, it didn't melt. Still, I ate it, and yes, that's the only thing I ate. Well, that's it for day 4. Hope you guys enjoyed so far. Tomorrow on day 5, we're going to another prefecture, which is Oita.